Am I the a-hole for being upset about my husband's sexual fantasy? Just to get to the point, my husband and I were chatting and the subject about our sexual fantasies came up. I was very hesitant to tell him mine, but he insisted. I told him my fantasy was to have a threesome with me and 2 bisexual men. Even before I met him, I've always had this fantasy. I've had the opportunities to act upon them but never had the courage. My husband seemed put off and said it would never happen. He said that it is not his cup of tea. I then asked him about his fantasy, to which he replied he doesn't really have one, and we left it at that. Today the subject came up again and I joked with him and said he thinks differently of me because of my weird fantasy. He then says to me he does have a fantasy, and it's to film him effing his uncle's wife. I was like, wow. I was really upset. I'm unsure why I feel this way. I haven't been ignoring him, but he knows I'm upset. He apologized and said he'd never bring it up again, but it's too late. I feel like if the opportunity presented itself he'd do it since it's someone he knows. I know it's a fantasy, but am I wrong? It's like me having a fantasy of effing my sister's husband. I'm sure he'd be upset.